Guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Susie from Girl Gone Green, and today we're going to be talking all about brows, how to achieve the right brow shape, what brow products to use in clean beauty, and what brow products work depending on what you're trying to achieve for your brow look. So let's dive in right now. Okay, so I like to say brows are basically the windows to your face. It's kind of like how windows, frame a house, like brows frame your face. So if your brows are not in tip-top shape, then I feel like everything else can kind of look a little bit blah and ruddy, and you really want everything just to look crisp and defined. So I'm going to show you today how to achieve the perfect brow shape, how to do that, how to know how the brow shape should look, and then also what brow products to use. So I actually brought my sister in, and I'm gonna do her brows so you guys can see kind of a before and after and how I go about achieving the right brow shape, and then what brow products I'm going to use. So I'm gonna walk through the whole process so you'll know exactly how to do yours, and then we'll kind of wrap it up at the end with a few more highlights and comments. Okay, so what I like to do is measure from the middle of the nostril, like I'm doing right here, to the top of where your eyebrow should start. So that's basically where your eyebrow, you should start plucking and getting hairs. So if there's any excess hairs beyond where you can see, your pencil or your eye pencil lining up, then you need to pluck those. But a lot of people will tell you the side of your nostril, the very end, but you don't want to do that because then you would have really wide brows. So you like to do in the middle of the nostril, and then as I was showing you, you want to take the pencil across your iris and then up over where your arch should be, and that's where your arch should start. And then from the very end of your nose, like the side of your nose, to the end point past your eye, and that's where your eyebrow should end. So there's like essentially 3 parts to finding the perfect shape. And then what you want to do is I like to brush my hairs up, and then you can kind of see what brows you need to trim. So right now I'm using a Remington nose and ear trimmer, and I like to do this if people don't like me plucking their brows, or if you're kind of weirded out by plucking. It's nice just to do this. You can just turn the button on, and then it helps just to remove excess hairs, especially on the top if you just have a lot of peach fuzz. So I like to go through. My sister doesn't love when I use the tweezers, so then I'll use the Remington ear and nose trimmer. And then as you can see, I was just pushing my brows up and then trimming them with the scissors. So with the Remington, as you can see, I'm just going through and I'm going to trim them just using that. It's just motorized, it has batteries, so just turn it on, and then it's really easy to get in there without having to just pluck a bunch of hairs if you don't like that. And then like I said, it really helps to kind of define them on top if you want to get rid of any of the peach fuzz. Also, what I like to do with this, you guys have probably seen me if you follow me on Instagram, is I will put the guard on, make sure the long side is on the long side and then the short side is on the short side. And I will just go over my whole brow with the long side and just kind of trim them up. It basically makes them look really groomed and not bushy. My brows tend to get bushy. My sister's brows are not bushy. They're pretty awesome on their own. So I'm not going to do this because I don't want her to end up with no brows. But if you do have really bushy brows, you might want to try that. Again, make sure you use the long side with the guard on. And if you want to know how to do it, I do have a highlight saved to my Instagram where you can go check that out and see exactly how I use that and how I do the whole thing. I also wanted to point out, if you do have really bushy brows, it might not be the best thing. Bushy brows tend to be a little bit more wiry, and you don't want your brows sticking up all over too. So maybe don't use it if you have bushy brows. So after I use the Remington ear and nose trimmer, I'm going to go through with the Tweezerman tweezers. I love those. I love that brand. And I'm just going to pick up any excess hairs and really define and shape them. So I'm just basically going through and doing what I found as far as the shape from that defining pencil. I'm going to use that as my kind of guide to find where I should pluck the hairs. So you can obviously see she has kind of a natural arch. I'm just making it a little bit more defined since it was kind of a little bit more on the I don't know, she just had excess hairs all over. So I'm kind of making them more defined and really shaping her face. And she also hasn't had her brows done in a really long time. So it's nice to have someone else look at your brows and just it helps to kind of give you like a different idea. I think if you look at your brows for too long, you can kind of think, you know, they're fine, or you might not know where to even start. So if you want to just go to someone, get your brows done initially just to find the right shape, and then after that you can just maintain them. I like to maintain mine by every like week, just plucking this few stray hairs. That way it doesn't build up and become kind of overwhelming. And it's really nice to have that spoolie, so that way you can swipe up on any of the excess hairs, so you can kind of see like where the shape is heading with the brows. You can also get your brows threaded if you'd rather do that too. Threading is definitely way better than waxing, in my opinion. Waxing tends to open up your pores and stretches the skin more you do it. So I don't recommend waxing all the time. Like maybe if you want to get your brows waxed by someone once a year just to find your shape. And then after that, if you want to wax yours or get them threaded. Just be careful with threading though, because I have found a lot of times they can over pluck. And so you just want to make sure, you know, they know kind of what you're thinking from the get-go. So as you can see, I am spooling up and brushing up my brows, and then any excess brows over the line or shape, I'm just trimming those off to make them look really smooth. So I'm doing the same thing I did to the other side as far as finding the shape and kind of seeing the excess brows that I need to trim. I always like to say too, remember brows are sisters, not twins. So obviously each brow is going to look a little bit different. Not that they won't be like somewhat uniform, but they're not going to be like identical. So as you can see already, the left side that I did is so much more groomed and just clean compared to the right side. You can tell she has a lot of excess hairs and kind of doesn't have quite as much shape on the end. So we're gonna really shape that up and make it look really clean, and just kind of get rid of some of the peach fuzz she has at the top too. Also, if you're maybe having brows that you've overplucked, or you want to try growing them in and you're just not even sure like what shape they should be, my recommendation is to wait 6 weeks before you do anything with them. So basically don't touch your brows for 6 weeks, let them grow out, and then see where they're at after that. Once you're done with that, you can kind of see like, oh, maybe you need to, you know, get them done or plucked, or maybe you need to fill them in because the brows aren't growing in or the hairs aren't growing in. So 6 weeks is kind of a good base for you to be able to see like what products are actually going to work, and if, you know, your brows are going to grow in. So you kind of want to wait, because then you'll see whether or not you need to have like an eyebrow gel versus a defining crayon, or which product will be best for your brows. So like I always have said before, a brow gel is for more of a natural look, like if you don't have a lot to fill in. And then this product, for example, this pomade, this is by Crunchy. It's in the color medium brown. I'm going to use this on this side of her face. This is perfect for if you kind of want to fill in a little bit of your brows and give them more definition. And it's really easy to use. I always tell people, like, if you want something that's ease of use and you're not super familiar with doing your brows, this is a great brow product for sure. Stays on the whole day, it looks really natural, and it helps just to kind of define your brows overall. So as you can see, it looks a little bit more defined. So now we're going to use the Beauty Counter eyebrow gel. So this is in the color medium. This is great too. It's going to add a little bit more pigment than the pomade that I just used. What I like about this is if you're just wanting something really natural and you don't necessarily have a lot to fill in, this is a great brow product. I wouldn't necessarily use this though if you are, you know, really wanting to define your brows, or if you have like just some areas that you really need to create like those fake hairs. It's probably not the best product, just because you're not gonna be able to like fill in those areas as well compared to a pomade or like a defining crayon. So just remember that when you are doing your brows, if you are looking for some product that, you know, is gonna add some hairs, you're gonna wanna go with a defining crayon or a pomade. So I like to even use my spoolie after I use the eyebrow gel product, just to kind of rake through the product through my hairs and make it look a little bit more natural. But as you can tell, it looks a little bit more pigmented on the right hand side compared to the left. Okay, so as you can see, my sister's brows look amazing. They look so much cleaner and crisp and just define her face so much better. My other sister, after I did them, could instantly tell that her brows looked so much better and just, you know, kind of shaped her face a little bit better too. So I wanted to point out that just remember that your brows are not twins, they're sisters. So you're not gonna necessarily have the perfect brows, like as far as they're not going to be symmetrical and they're not going to be like perfectly, you know, each one's going to look exactly the same. Like they're a little bit different. Obviously you're going to try to achieve the same look overall, but they're not twins, they are sisters, so treat them like that. Also remember, when you're doing your brows, just consider like what you're trying to achieve. So if you really want to fill in your brows because they are, you know, missing some hairs, or you just don't like the shape and the hair is not growing back, you're gonna need to use the right brow product for that. So don't necessarily use maybe a brow gel, but use either a defining crayon or a pomade, because those are gonna be a lot better to fill in your brows than say brow gel. Also, a good rule of thumb I like to use is to pluck your brows or clean them up at least once a week. That way you're able to keep your shape really easily and clearly see where the shape should be, so you're able to quickly, you know, define them, instead of waiting like, you know, a couple weeks or a month and then you're having to like try to find the shape again and start from scratch. That can be really overwhelming for people. Another thing too, if you feel like you're not super great as far as finding your shape, maybe go to a brow bar somewhere that you trust, or find someone's brows that you really like and ask them where they get their brows done. And just go there maybe once a year or a couple times a year and just have someone else look at your brows and get the right shape, and then you can kind of just clean them up, like I said, once a week. I hope this video was super helpful. If you guys liked the video, leave me a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't, like I said earlier. And if you aren't following me on Instagram, be sure to head over to @GirlGoneGreen and follow me here on Instagram. I love showing all the latest beauty products that I'm using in clean beauty, as well as just living out this natural lifestyle, and I would love for you to follow along. So until next week.